Hey, everybody. I think we are live. My name's Christian. I'm the event coordinator here. I'll be hosting this webinar. This webinar is going to be about tips for success for the January Start Folks Drone Edition. We're focusing on the UAS program. If you're in the firearms program somehow and you're in here, still kind of pertains with all the study habits and stuff you need to prepare, but this is going to be more drone focused, but feel free to stay if you're here. But for everybody else, welcome. I mean, those guys are welcome too. Let's introduce our panel. We've got a bunch of different departments in here. Who wants to go first?
Well, first, name's James McDonald. I'm the program chair for the School of Uncrewed Technology.
I'm Don Heon, and I am the UAS specialist for the SUT side, and I help write the curriculum.
My name is Catherine, and I work in the admissions department.
My name is Melissa, and I also work in the admissions department.
I'm Colleen, and I work in student services. I'm a student success coach.
And my name's JT, and I work in the admissions department.
Right. Well, everybody, I see you guys introducing yourselves. Awesome. If you have a question as we're going through, feel free just to put it in the chat. I know there's a Q&A section as well. Keep it in the chat, kind of keeps it in there. We have other representatives from different departments manning the chat as well. If it's something that requires a longer answer, we'll take it here on the panel, but we're just going to go through what you need to do to prepare for day one here at school. I know some folks are have been students before in college, some have not, some it's been a while. So we want to make sure everybody's prepared, and then we'll cover what you need to know on day one and then how to be prepared for after you get started as well. Let's see. James, what do you think is the most important thing for these folks to be getting prepared for January?
I think the big thing to be prepared for, especially with uncrewed technologies being a in-depth thing, is to understand that it's not just one specific focus. Think of uncrewed technology as a multitude of different technologies put together to make an aircraft work. And in that set, keeping your mindset open to not just learning one subject and learning that subject really well, but learning a ton of sub-subjects or different subjects that make the total subject of drones work. So be ready to have an open mind, learn about a lot of different things all at once because they all fit together to make a drone work and to make them fly, as well as being open to learning and understanding the technologies involved with it too, because while it may just be you may just see it as robotics, there's also some computer behind it, some mechanical, some electrical, some basic mathematics as well, but a lot of building and a lot of flying as well. So in short, that's why I'd say that's the best prepare for is create the right mindset for it.
Yeah. And there's so many aspects to the UAS space. So for those of you watching, put in the chat, why you're interested, what's getting you motivated to get into the uncrewed space. Hopefully we can kind of target some of our answers and responses towards what you're looking to do. Melissa, in admissions, what are some of the things that you go over with your prospective students or, current enrolled students to help them get prepared for their start dates?
So one of the biggest things after you submit your application and are starting to gather documents for funding, we want to make sure we're also collecting those transcripts and things like that, getting those in time to look at potential transfer credits, make sure we're finishing up the whole enrollment process. And then other than that, we want to make sure that we're matching up and all of our devices are meeting our technology requirements and just making sure we're getting prepared on that end. So when classes begin, it's smooth sailing from there.
Colleen, you got something to add to that part?
Yes. Well, by the time they get to me, we will go over what your classroom looks like. We would advise you to take the orientation in the classroom. This will get you used to the interface, used to just navigating your classroom. So by the time day one comes, you can do it in your sleep. And, we want to pay attention to the attendance policies too. Those are extremely important. Just remember that every time you start a new class, you have 7 days to establish attendance, meaning that we'd like you to post, make sure that you submit that first week, submit your first discussion board posts and assignments and stuff like that. But you'll get a welcome call with one of your coaches, and we'll go over all of that again. You can ask all the questions you need there. We'll sit with you through your laptop and go through your entire schedule. We'll go through everything that you can expect for your first class.
Now, Don, I'm more of the firearm side than the gun than the drone side. I know when we did this with the firearm side, they are all getting their workbenches ready, equipments and tools, looking forward to what they're getting sent. On the other end, on the uncrewed space, I know it looks like Chad wants to build drones. Would like to get his foot in the door in the industry. What are some of the things, like physically, material wise, that folks may be able to get ahead of time that we don't send out? And then what do we send out?
Yeah, well, we send out a couple different types of drones. We send out a small mini drone for some of your coursework, and we also send out another smaller programmable drone. So part of the course that teaches the build class, we also send the parts to build the drone itself. And a good thing to start with is to have a workbench, and it doesn't need to be anything fancy, but somewhere where you can sit down and actually dedicate some time in a quiet space to build your drone or configure your drone. I mean, even a $20 Walmart table is good enough, but you need some area to sit down to be able to do your coursework, because it is such a hands-on program.
James?
If I can add to that just a little bit, having a good workspace is one thing, but also because of all the parts that we're working with, a lot of them small. Chad, since you've built drones in the past, and then others who are interested in drones that are starting in the associate's degree program as well, to kind of complement their already existing 107 or skills, is that you need to organize those parts. You have to have things to put them in. So get a little tools organizer, get a little toolbox with little separators that you can put different components in, your electronic speed controllers, your motors, your flight controller boards, your power distribution boards and so forth, and your cabling setups and your tools such as cable strippers or soldering cables. Now, with the drone that we send you in UAS 234, you don't necessarily need all that right off the bat, and we send you any tools and materials that you need for assembling that one. But they're good tools that you want to have and be able to organize, because when you get this kit, it comes in parts. You're going to need to build it all from scratch. Now, we guide you through that, of course, but it's always good to be able to organize them so you could take it slow, easily organized, and just having those tools and those toolboxes and those separators and organizers in place for all your small screws and components and tools and hardware. It makes it a lot easier in the future when you're in the industry or still just building it and using them as a hobby, to not be, running all over the house looking for all these different parts and tools that you may need, instead of just having them all in one place. Because the last thing I want to do is, for a drone that takes 2 hours to build, spend 4 hours looking around the house for my tools and all the parts and the zip ties and other things that I need to build it. So not just a open space, but an organized space to do it as well. So anything that you can get that'll help you organize that table set, all the better. And if you want to decorate a little bit, kind of like I have here in the office, and kind of like Christian does too, his is a lot better than mine, I will say though. Pegboards are nice. Get a couple hangers. Have some things to hang your transmitters and controllers off, because we don't just send the drones, we send transmitter controllers as well, and other components for the aircraft. And it's not just drones. It's sensors as well, like thermal sensors, and then also different access to software. So definitely good things to prep for. And one thing I want to stress a little bit, check the technical specification requirements for the computer requirements on the SDI website. Though the minimum of those technical specifications is meant so you can run the simulators that we have in the program that you get access to and that you practice with. And by the way, while you have access to those simulators, we had to go through some basic training modules, but take advantage because you have full access to go through some application training specifically in those training modules as well. So that's just a few additional things that I'd recommend as well. That would help get you started or pre-prep you for being successful in the program and getting what you really want out of it as well.
Okay.
And I just added the link in the chat. So if you guys want to check out that, that's the link to go to check your computer requirements. But On the subject of organization, not only just with your materials and your tools and your items that you're going to be receiving, but I always like to tell my students that it's important to be organized with your actual the stuff that you're going to have on your computer. So my recommendation is always create a folder for each specific class. If there are ebooks or anything downloadable that you need for that class, put it in that folder. Put all of your assignments in that folder. That way, you'll have that forever, and you'll know exactly where it's located. Super helpful.
And Catherine, you beta tested some of the classes, or were you a student in the
I
course?
beta tested the fundamentals class. It was a long time ago, so I'm pretty sure it's changed a lot by then, but it was really interesting. You got to learn a lot of the background, like where drones were invented and came from, where the future holds. It was a really cool class.
What were some of the learning curve stuff that you had to deal with from not being a student for a while to becoming a student again?
It just takes a minute to get used to it with those discussion boards. If people have taken online college before, they're probably familiar with discussion boards. The thing that I liked the most about the discussion boards was everybody was on the same page. Everybody liked drones. It's not like a silly subject that, like English or something, not silly, but you know what I mean. Something that everybody's really excited about. We've got people in the classes from all different levels of experience and knowledge. So you learn a lot from your people in your cohort as well. So that was really cool.
JT or Melissa, can you go over how the week works? How many weeks will be in their course? When does it start? When does it end? When things are due? All that kind of stuff again?
Sure
I'll go
thing.
ahead and answer that
You
question.
go ahead, JT.
Okay. So one of the things that I really try to emphasize with my students is when it comes before you start school, you guys should definitely spend some time using your calendar app on your phone. And I would encourage you guys to put like maybe 2 to 3 hour blocks of time on each day, Monday through Friday, and maybe even 4 to 5 hour blocks of time on Saturday or Sunday initially. And then as you begin to go through the program, you kind of figure out what works best for you. You can always alter that schedule, that's going to fit your life and whatever you guys have going on, for yourself. So that's something that I would highly recommend you guys doing, because if you have a game plan now, then it comes down to how you're going to execute the game plan. And then it just comes down to being disciplined to follow through on those times that you set aside to focus on your schoolwork.
Speaking of times to set aside for school, we have deadlines each week we're going to want to be mindful of. Your classes are going to be 5 weeks in length. So each class will have a syllabus. It gives you a good idea ahead of time to start to prepare for what to expect in that time frame. But every week we have deadlines. They're the same each and every week. Those don't change. So you want to make sure you're logging in on Monday, first day of class. Start to find out what those discussion boards are going to be looking like. That's going to be the bulk of how you communicate with the online classroom. So definitely dive into those. Great conversations are going to happen. Like Catherine alluded to, you're going to have industry professionals in the class leading the class, and also other people that have a variety of backgrounds in the class with you. So that's a great sounding board. Your first discussion post or your first deadline each week is going to fall on Wednesdays at midnight, Arizona time. Keep that in mind because we don't change our clocks here in the desert, so definitely be mindful of that. So Wednesdays at midnight, Arizona time, your first discussion post is going to be due by. And then everything else is going to be due no later than Sundays at midnight, Arizona time as well. And that's anything else that might be due that week for credits. So additional discussion posts, maybe small papers, tests, quizzes, projects, whatever's due. Again, keep that syllabus in mind so that you're going to be prepared ahead of time.
Awesome. And how often can they log in, and are they required to log in for any particular amount of time throughout the week?
I do believe that there's a recommendation to set aside between 25 and 30 hours per week to have that enough time to be successful in your classes. I don't think there's James might know this, but I don't think there's an actual minimum time that you have to be logged in, or there's definitely not a specific time that you have to be logged in. So you're able to go in throughout the week at your own convenience and complete your coursework, which makes it super flexible. Week to week, you can change that up. It doesn't have to be the same time each week either.
Yeah, correct on that. And the factor that you can also, there's no limit or on time or when you can access the materials or can't access the materials as far as time throughout the period of the course. And it really helps in being able to schedule your own time and with your schedules as well. One thing I will say is that And some of the question that was brought up in our chat here is that as far as contacting your professors, yes, you definitely want to go through the Canvas inbox system to reach out to your professors. It's preferred that you use that method for outreach to and contact to your professors as they are available to you in the courses. And one of the other things I want to mention as well is that, while you have these due dates and set times set throughout the courses, as Melissa was explaining and detailing on, some of these courses, some of these classes that have some practical assignments that are a little time taking. So if you're waiting till like 10 p.m. on a Sunday night to get started on that, so probably a little late to be starting that assignment, especially if you're dealing with building or assembling a drone or having to go outside and fly, right? So it's always best to kind of look ahead. If there's one top recommendation I can make, look ahead to see what your assignments are for the week at the start. And that means while you're going through the lectures and other materials, you can kind of plan and even do some work ahead for that assignment, or plan when you're going to go fly, or plan when you're going to finish your build or assembly, or plan when you're going to do your setup, or pull out the thermal sensor and try give it a shot and test it out before you have to use it for the assignment. It's highly recommended you do so earlier rather than later if you can.
Yeah. An
And I
old
wanted to
wise
add on
uncle
what
told
James
me,
said.
with great power comes great responsibility. Oh man, that ruined my whole joke. So anyway, it's all right. So go ahead, Colleen. You finish yours, and then I'll finish mine. It'll be funny back
I
in
just
a little
wanted to
bit
add
too.
what James said about getting your assignments done early, especially those assignments that require you to operate the drone. You really want to start early looking at that, because you have to take into consideration the weather. That's a big thing. If it's raining, if it's too windy, you won't be able to fly for safety reasons. So start early so that you can take that into consideration, because you still have to submit your assignment. And if you have any questions, you want to be sure that you reach out early. Don't wait until Sunday to reach out, because the instructor might not be able to get to you at that in time.
And that goes with my thing. An old wise uncle told me once, with great power comes great responsibility. So you have a lot of freedom, to be able to log in right at the end and turn something in. But if you do need help, you still need to be responsible and contact your instructor. But if you do that 30 minutes before your due date, it's going to be hard for them to reach back. So definitely stay ahead. That way you can ask questions, you can ask for help. And then, yes, if you live in Tornado Alley, or if you've got some bad weather, or if it's snowing since it's winter, you can set the proper expectations early with the instructor, and they will be willing to work with you. We understand,
Exactly.
we
I want
all
to touch
we
on
all don't live in Arizona where it's, I think, 75 degrees right now. So
I wanted to touch on that
no
a
big
little
deal.
bit and build on what Christian was saying, is that, yeah, we understand that as part of having some practical assignments that include flying, we understand that weather is a limiting factor, as it is to all aviation. We even have some safety videos inside of those assignments that say, like, hey, here's the maximum wind that you should be operating in. And if you're over that, here's something that you can do alternative wise, but you got to make sure you're communicating with your instructor. We certainly don't want to have you fly in unsafe conditions or in weather that is not conducive to the safety of flight, because in the industry, you're going to have to make calls, even to clients or people that you're working with, saying like, hey, I know we scheduled for me to fly at this time, but the weather is not safe. It's past the operating limits, and we have to reschedule that. Or, if they have another location they want you to fly at, you have to try to work around and say, okay, we can fly this location first and come back to this location when we're at a better time. So that's what you'll see in the industry. Here, there's ways to work with your instructor and other options to do that if weather is truly doing that. But you are going to have to, just like you would a client, show that weather is really stopping you from flying in a safe environment or in a safe way. But I just want to tag on to that. Sorry, Christian, didn't mean to
No, that's
clamp
perfect.
onto the end of the train there.
Yeah, that's clamp on to the end of my train anytime you want, James. I want to get into more of the curriculum and what to expect, but before we do that, do admissions or student services, do you have anything that you want to bring up in regard to prepping for day one that we haven't covered yet?
I do want to
Okay.
reiterate. I do want to say again about logging into your classroom. Make sure you have access to the classroom. Make sure you have access to the student portal. If you don't, please reach out to your student success coach. And make sure you go through the orientation also, so that you can formulate your questions. By the time you get to your welcome call with the student success coach, you'll have a list of questions. So wanted to
Yep.
make
And
sure
then
to reinforce
just a
that.
quick reminder, you will get an email if you haven't gotten it already to register for that orientation session. When you register, they will send you a link to log into a webinar similar to this. I highly recommend attending. They are going to walk you through your online classroom, help you navigate through all the different systems that you're going to be using, show you how to submit assignments. So definitely it's worth going to, and it's going to be held on Tuesday, January 6th at 6 p.m. Arizona time. Okay. So definitely attend that. Another real quick little blurb is about transcripts and finance. If you haven't got through those processes yet, please contact us, talk to your finance rep, get those transcripts in. If there are classes that you've taken at other colleges that don't have any transferable credits, if you're in the certificate program, we can take unofficial transcripts from the other colleges. So just keep in mind, we need to get those soon because colleges are going to be closing down for the holidays. So get that done.
And you
Smart.
won't have access to classes if those transcripts aren't received. So you want to make sure that you get them done ahead of time so that there's a seamless entry come that first day of classes as well.
Okay. All right. James and Don. So what are some tips you have to be a successful drone student? You know, what frame of mind, what should you be prepared for? What should you be working towards if somebody wanted to get their foot into the industry, like some of the commenters have been wanting to?
So, sorry, Don, I didn't know if that was you raising your hand to go first or you wanted me to go first.
I think he's
In any
passing
case,
the buck.
yeah, copy that. Buck received. It'll cost a little more than $1 for this advice. Anyways, moving along. Some skills that are, I would say, I see individuals commenting on here that you already got your Part 107. That's a great first step. In the industry, there's more than just having that 107 because, as a lot of individuals in the industry knows, getting that Part 107 is one part of it. It's a big first step. It's a good first step, and it's awesome to hear that some of you have already gotten your 107 certification. When you're going out for interviews or when you're going out to prove your capabilities and skills to clients or customers or even employers, they'll want to see practical flight skills as well on the platforms that they are operating on. So we all understand that, when people say drones, they think of multicopters, quadcopters, and we cover a lot of that in this course, as well as fixed wings and quad planes, VTOL hybrid systems that are a mix of the two put together. But being able to showcase and having a good practical flight skills manually, but not just manually, also understanding how to command and control drones through laptop computers using ground control station software like Q Ground Control and Mission Planner, which we do cover in some of the courses. Having the skills not just to know how to operate an aircraft and operate it safely, but also know how to set it up or swap out some of the hardware on there and update the firmware or flash the firmware to the flight controller board, and just understanding the basic electrical subsystems and how the drones are laid out and how they function. But that's just one side, because as we know in the drone industry, there's two major sides. We have the developer side. We have those who build and manufacture and develop them and create them and test them. And then we have the services industry where you use them for different applications. You could be a technician as a service provider to fix drones and so forth. There's a lot of different pathways you can go down. So that's why we were saying at the beginning, a lot of these courses cover a lot of different skills to try to prepare you at the best to get started in any one of those potential pathways, really. But I won't say too much of it because I know Don's got some other good tips as well.
One of the things that I learned early in my college days was to be able to be flexible, adaptable, and at least proactive. If you can understand those skill sets and gain those skill sets, your learning is not going to stop inside of this UAS degree program. It's only going to continue outside of that. So my recommendation to any student joining the UAS program here at SDI is understand and learn those skill sets, because those 3 skill sets will take you very far in the industry. And it's all about being flexible because things change, especially in this UAS industry. They change so fast. And it's important to not only be flexible, but be proactive, at the same time. So just it's all about just gaining those skill sets and then learning how to translate that into the industry when you do graduate.
It's definitely, and to add to what Don said, because it's so important on this, and everything that he said is absolutely true. To add to it, it's that what he says, staying flexible, it also means continuously learning. So you're gonna develop a really good baseline in the program here, and we keep the program materials as up to date as possible with the changes as they go along in the industry. But what you're going to want to do even after this is keep learning, keep using external materials, because as fast as things can change, once you have a good baseline, you got to keep up with it. Don and I have been in this industry both like 12, 13 years. And it's throughout each year, something has changed, or we've had to either keep up to date with something and learn something new. If you're ever looking into something where you feel that you're getting stagnant, that you know everything about, I guarantee drones is constantly going to make you feel like you know nothing sometimes. Sometimes I learn something new, or there's a new protocol for telemetry or transmission radios or something out there. I'm like, oh no, there's another one. Okay, let me look into this. Let me dig into this. Let me learn about it. What are the benefits of it? You tell me it gets double the range. All right, let's learn more about this. I want to see how I can use this on my own drones, right? So keep your mind open even while you're going through the programs. Look at all these external resources. Take a look at the SDI Resource Center, because that has a lot of UAS resources there. SDI is part of AUVSI. We're part of the FAA, Federal Aviation Administration's Uncrewed Aircraft Systems Collegiate Training Initiative, where there's a ton of additional resources to students to go into and learn more, get newsletters, see webinars that are going on out in the industry. So it's not just here in the classes as a resources, but who we're members of and parts of in the industry that you can go out and keep learning more as well while you're going through our courses and even after the program as well.
Is there a great podcast that they could stay up to date with things that are happening in the industry and at Sonoran Desert Institute?
Yeah, I don't know about that, Christian. That could be a hard one to reference. I think SDI has one called the Flight Path podcast.
Oh,
I could be
that's
wrong.
crazy.
Was that the right name, Don? I'm not too sure. But anyways, yeah, we do have the Flight Path podcast, and we're on there. We're talking to guests in the industry, founders, CEOs, people who are operators in the industry, not just on the development side, but also on the industry application side as well. I mean, we just had a gentleman who's titled as the Grind Boss, because he's one of the individuals who's kind of leading in the industry for drone power washing of buildings, right? Pretty cool stuff. And then we have individuals on there that are founders that are building drones for defense applications, and their aircraft are being used in the U.S. military already. So besides us, listening to us talk even more than you already are now on some of the episodes, there's some definitely more interesting people on those podcasts as well to learn even more about the drone industry on. So definitely would recommend it to you. Thanks for the reminder, Christian.
Hey, no, thank you. So, all right. Anybody other than Don and James have anything to add as far as, the cricket, or, what people should expect within the uncrewed space? And if not, I'm going to have James go through quickly the difference between both of our programs, because that's going to be a thing too. We'll have some students here in the cert, and we'll have some students here in the associates. So James, what are the biggest difference between those two? And then Don and James, how should they be preparing depending on which program they're in?
So I'll do the differences. Don, you want to take the prep?
Yeah,
Cool.
sure.
All right. So we have the certificate program and we have the associate's degree program, as I'm sure you all know. It's probably most likely why you're here. So the certificate program is that good jumping off point. Maybe you've heard about the drone industry, you've done some research, you understand a little bit about it, but maybe you don't have your 107, or you haven't been exposed to a flight operation or even flying drones. The certificate really introduces you to a set of courses that gets you started in understanding the drones as a commercial operator, not just understanding how to fly them, but also how to operate within a flight operations department in a company, understanding the rules and regulations as you need to when you're operating in the industry, and then understanding all the different kinds of sensors and what they're used for and how they're attached to drones and what applications they're used for. Because drones, just as, something that flies around without a sensor on board, yeah, they're fun, but for commercial applications, doesn't make them too useful. So they have all different types of sensors on board, and we need to know how to apply those sensors. For the associate's degree program, get this, it has those same 4 courses that I talked about in the certificate program, but it expands even more. So you're learning more on the development side as well. You're learning about all the electronics and how those sub-electronics are set on components that are on the drone and how those components work and talk with one another. And then you're also learning about how to design, build, and fly small multicopters and aircraft, and how we take you through the design walkthrough steps. And it also, besides teaching you about the basics of development, as well as putting you through flight testing campaigns, it also is building upon more specifics on those applicational workflows. So we have a few classes in the associate's degree program that gets you far more training on how to use thermographic sensors, since they're used in a ton of different applications. And then another one that teaches you about the mapping and geospatial intelligence systems workflows. And it's not just, hey, here's how this process works. It's here's the importance behind it. Here's what clients and individuals and companies are looking for. Here's how you carry out the operation. Oh, and by the way, here's a data set for you to actually process, and your practical assignment is putting those into reports and post-processing that data to be able to deliver to your instructor, who is more or less the customer. So we're training in workflows and processes. But I would say key difference, in short, certificate is getting started. Associate's degree is expanding and specializing, not just in flying, but in development and in specific workflows. So sorry, Don, if there's anything that I took there from it.
No, I mean, you pretty much hit it all. Like, as far as prepping for the courses, it's just, you have to understand that this industry changes. And although you've done all the prep work and you've done all your research, and it's just a matter of getting into the class and being able and willing to learn along the way. Because, an associate's degree, that's, fresh entry level. So a lot of people coming into the associate's degree don't really know a whole lot about drones, the way they operate, what's required, that sort of thing. So part of getting into a degree program is just being willing to learn, adapt, and then grow with the program. It's not much prep work other than just being prepared to learn.
Yeah. And so to break it down even further, CUTAS certificate program, operators getting started in the industry, associate's degree program, operators getting started, specializing in a few industries and getting that industry application experience, and also understanding how to build and design those drones at the entry level.
Sorry, I'm commenting back. Looks like Jesse Bailey graduated from firearms in 2015, and watching the podcast actually brought him back to attend this program. So that's awesome. It's cool to hear that kind of stuff. So
nice. Well, thanks for for those who are returning and learning about drone technology. Like, as you've seen, and as I've seen in some of the comments that you've mentioned, is that it's growing in commercial and also growing on the warfare side. And it can also be a fun hobby if you like, putting on a headset and you're flying around like you have your own personal roller coaster too. So good on multiple fronts. And it's just it's a great industry to get into right now, because we need more operators, not just operators, we need more designers and developers and flight test engineers in the industry to really expand our capabilities as a country, to really just get it out there and have more capable individuals, making us more capable to build our own and develop our own systems. For sure. It's a good time to be getting in.
now this next part is for admissions and student services. Obviously college, it's not easy. We try to make it as convenient as we can by having you be able to log in 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's online. You don't have to drive to a campus. But when people are just going through it, losing their motivation, kind of getting jumbled here and there, how do you suggest students keep their motivation up? What do they need to do?
I'll go ahead and kick this off.
Okay.
So the biggest thing that I really can share with all of you that are getting ready to start school, that have set this goal for yourself to go to school to learn about drones, to whether it's establish a career, start your own business, is spend some time between right now and when you start school getting crystal clear as far as what your why is. Why are you doing this? You have the goal, but the why is deeper than the goal, because as we all know, life is going to happen whether we want it to or not. So when stuff goes crazy, kids start acting up, job is going crazy, whatever the case is, if you know what your why is, that's going to help you to stay anchored, to stay the course, so you can ultimately finish what you said you wanted to start by going to school here. And with that why being crystal clear, that's going to also keep you on path to your purpose. You know, why are you doing this? What type of difference do you want to make in this country, in this world, by taking this next step to further your education with SDI? So that's the best advice I can give to you guys.
I have a bit of advice, and I learned this from experience. Please don't procrastinate, because that's the worst feeling when you wake up on a Sunday, 10 o'clock in the morning, and realize you have a paper to write and a practical application assignment due, and you haven't finished your discussion board post. It really drags you down. So just try to take it piece by piece, spread it out through the week, and don't wait till the last minute. I did that a few times and I regretted it every single time.
Colleen, can you go over our late work policy? And I know you'll go over this in orientation, but it's kind of always good to hear as often as possible.
Yeah, I mean, so we did mention the deadlines before. Wednesdays and Sundays, 11:59 p.m. And I want to stress the 11:59 p.m. and not midnight, because it might be 1 second, but it's very different. So you would find that if you wait until midnight, your work is not accepted, or you wouldn't be able to upload it. So just make sure that it's done by 11:59 p.m. Now, if you're late on a Sunday, let's say you're late to turn in your main assignment on a Sunday, you do have 4 days to still upload that assignment. This is your main assignment. However, you lose 10% of the grade for every day that you're late. So, another good thing, if you know that you're going to be late, please reach out to your instructor as soon as possible. You know, sometimes your instructor can work with you, can, give you alternate ideas. So you want to reach out as much as possible, but keep in mind that there is a late policy of 4 days. Now, this is for your main assignment. This does not work for quizzes or your discussion boards. Those do not have a grace
One
period.
other thing,
Only your main assignment has a grace period.
one thing I did want to add, you guys, if you're struggling, like at all, reach out to your instructors. They are there. Your student success coach is there. Even admissions, we like to hear from our students even after you start classes. We are all here to make sure that you're succeeding. We do not want anybody to be stressed out or anything. Reach out if you're struggling at all, and we will come up with a plan to help you out. Your instructors are a great place to start. If you don't get help that you need from them, reach out to your SSC, because that's what we want. We want you guys to be successful.
Yeah.
If I can speak more to the technical side, especially for those when we get into like drone development or like the flight testing or building drones. If this is your first time building a drone, or if you build drones before, every new build can be seemingly challenging. We try to do our best to make it as easy as possible to follow along with our assembly videos and documentation and instruction, but sometimes there'll be a little bit of troubleshooting involved. And we all know that troubleshooting can sometimes be frustrating, or it can test our patience a little bit. If there's one thing, and I'm sure Don can attest to this as well, that we learned throughout the drone industry, is definitely definitely getting to in a mentality that when you run into an issue, if you have an initial frustration with it, try to give yourself some time. Come back to it and address it, because the more you learn how to troubleshoot and fix a few things or how to solve problems, that's what's going to make you extremely valuable in this industry. As someone who's been like operating in different countries where we have limited support, being able to go in and look at and fix the drone, or find the cause of something that was causing it not to take off or have issues in flight, made made me as an operator even more valuable. So it's a skill that when you encounter, it's necessary to go through the paces, reach out to your instructor for assistance and help, and go through that troubleshooting process. Because 9 times out of 10, you're not alone in trying to figure it out. You're either with another operator, you're with crew members, you're with a team of engineers that can help walk through and troubleshoot that. But like I said, not just from my end that can back that up. I know Don has had some of that experience as well to that.
Some of that experience I have never forgotten because I ran into some troubleshooting issues. And I think the process of me going through that and learning that has really cemented inside of me. And I haven't forgot about that. And part of the build course in particular, UAS 213, is not only building a drone, but understanding the system. And part of understanding the system is most likely you're going to have some troubleshooting issues that you're going to have to work through. And James and I are here to assist you guys in that troubleshooting process. But it would behoove you to work through that on your own and come up with some questions that where you're stuck, that you could reach out to your instructor and propose those questions to him. Part of that process is just understanding the troubleshooting steps and working through that. And when you get stuck, reach out to your instructor because they're there to help.
Do either one of you have the design, build, fly, build handy at all?
Well, I do.
Okay,
Actually.
let's just show that.
I
off
always
real
have
quick.
it handy, Christian.
Okay.
So this is the design, build, and fly. Now it's pretty sizable,
Yep,
pretty large.
That doesn't help.
There's a lot of, as you can see, there's a lot of components, but all this comes as individual pieces when you first get it. And you're going to be building it subsystem by subsystem to the airframe, to the propulsion subsystem, to the autopilot, to all the little avionics and cable connections on board. And once you get done assembling it, then you have to program it. Think of like when you're first installing Windows on a computer, and now you have to set all your settings on it. That's essentially what you're doing, but we guide you through those steps. And at the end, this aircraft is going to go airborne. So this is one of the things that you can look forward to in that design, build, fly class. It's having something come in a box of parts. At the end, you have a fully built, ready to go system that is actually quite capable. This can lift probably another pound or 2 pounds above what it can fly on itself for weight size. So if you, after course and after you're done with all your classroom materials, if you want to use it for other things, feel free for it. That's what it's meant to do, is help you expand and add different things to it as well.
James, did it all look like that, exactly like that when they're done, or they all look kind of different?
So they're supposed to, if you follow the build videos that Don and I have put together on this, they'll look the same. Now, again, that's just while you're going through the class. But after you're done with the class, you could get your own set of motors if you want more powerful motors with it, with a different power distribution board, or you could add an attachment on the bottom to carry something else and maybe move some components on the top so you could put the battery on the top and then have the components in the center of the plate and more so. So it's meant to be customizable, of course, after you're done with that UAS 213 course. But yes, all of them should look the same when you're done with the build.
Invisibility?
And so, sorry, I just saw a question come through from Chad. So the software that's being used, and for those who want to look ahead and start doing some research, I'm glad to see these questions coming through. It actually really excites me and Don quite a bit when you see these questions, because it sounds like you already know about iNav. Of course, there's Betaflight out there. There's Arctic Pilot. But what we're introducing you is, and maybe you already have some experience with it, is PX4. And PX4 is an MIT license. It's part of those open source softwares that are out there. But the cool thing about it is that you can go in and make changes to the firmware and hold on to those changes as a technological advantage, as if you ever use it to build your own drone as a product or become a manufacturer. Great question on that front. Sorry, Christian, didn't mean to interrupt you there.
I was just making a stupid joke anyway. So,
okay.
I'm here to lighten it up. But okay. We're in our last 15 minutes. So if anybody has any questions, keep doing what you're doing. Put it in the chat. We'll try to get to them before everything ends. But as we're in our last 15 minutes, let's just go over one piece of advice, even though all this was a advice. Just going down the line, just to prep. What are final pieces of advice from everybody?
I'll go. I
Catherine.
say just have fun, network with other students. You're going to be seeing them in your other classes down the line. Build friendships, network, and just have fun with it.
Yeah. And so as far as networking goes, I know in Canvas there's a community chat, right, James?
Correct.
Where people can talk to each other,
It's on
share
the
photos
SDI
of their
Resource Center
drones,
and discussion posts. Yep.
Yep. And then we also have a unofficial Discord, which I'll put that link in there as well. It is all current students, former students, and graduates. We have firearm side in there as well as uncrewed side in there. There's different. It's broken down into different chats, other stuff other than school stuff. So it's a great spot to be. I'll put the link in there, get you your invite, and then somebody will reach out and put you in the Discord. So it's just another great resource. So
There's also a student Facebook group if you guys want to look that up. Just SDI students. It's fun to watch, and it's mostly firearms, but there are some drone stuff in there too. You guys can take over.
Say it's something that I've previously stated before. In this industry, it's always growing. It's always changing because the technology of drones themselves is a culmination of all these different technologies: computers, radio telemetry, cameras, different sensors, microelectronics. We're starting you out understanding of on touching base on a lot of those different factors. If you're really looking into building and developing drones, keep going down, like, if you keep going down that path of interest, keep trying to learn whatever you can about those individual subjects as well, not just in what we teach you, but through additional resources and materials as well, because the more you understand about those different technologies that go into making a drone work and doing what it's capable of doing, the more of an expert or the more capable you become as an individual, either developing them or operating them. Because although I'm talking about building drones a lot, as an operator in the field who's been a site lead in other countries for drone delivery operations, knowing how these things work in depth, knowing how to troubleshoot them, knowing how to fix them, knowing how they're designed, and even being able to make suggestions to engineers or manufacturers who build these things to make it better, it's going to make you far more sought after in the industry once you're going through the course. And always keep that mentality of continuous learning.
You took the words right out of my mouth, James. I was going to
Sorry.
say that. So
Sure,
I guess
Don. Sure.
I guess I'll just add to it and say that you can be the best pilot in the world, but if your drone is not working and you don't know how to fix it, you're going to kind of be stuck in a little pickle. So take this opportunity to really learn and understand the workflows of drone systems, how they work, thermal cameras, photogrammetry, videography, that sort of thing. Really start to understand that process and that workflow, because if you can be flexible and adaptable and learn along the way, you're going to be better suited to the industry later when you graduate.
Right. And then, James, do you want to take this one? If I already have a 107, are there some courses that I can skip?
So the thing about as far as, and this is always a challenging one to answer because we've got this question in the past and other forms, is that when you already have your Part 107, but as far as like credit, and because these classes are accredited courses, if you want to try to, like, the thing that's most relatable to 107, right, is UAS 250. Now, in that course, we go through the rules and regulations, but we also have you going through practical application of that knowledge and actually having you practice practical flight skills in different scenarios too. So it's different from your run of the mill, go and study, route memorize this stuff for a weekend to get your Part 107. Now, if you've gotten your 107 through training through another college that has that class accredited, then we could you could do a transfer credit request. We can review it and possibly give transfer credit for that. But on Part 107 alone for that specific class, sadly, we're not able to use that as a preset for being able to just skip that class. So that's an answer on that. I know it's not the most popular answer, but you'd have to figure out if that institute is, if the area that you got the training from is accredited or not. So for
And
that,
even if it's accredited, there's a bunch of other factors that go into transfer
yes,
credit. So not just
yes,
accreditation, but curriculum and all that stuff,
yeah,
course
what's
credit
actually
hours.
covered versus
So,
what's matching in the courses and the experience that you get out of it.
but the most
So
important thing about that, get your transcripts in. And if if they transfer, they'll transfer. If they don't, then they won't. But what else do we got? I know, and I'm kind of cutting us off just because I know we're running short on time. Melissa, did you have something to
One
add?
quick note. I
Or
have a quick
Catherine?
note, if that's okay. Yeah.
All right,
I
yeah.
was just gonna say, any of you guys who are enrolled in the certificate program, give it a whirl and then come back for the associate's degree. It's so cool.
now I did see one question here, from Michael. So just looked up what 107 is while beginning that certification here. So the to answer that question is that you'll be preparing for that certificate. That's what UAS 250 helps you along in doing. Now, the only people that can test you for that certificate is FAA approved testing centers. So after you get prepared for that examination, and we have you go through a bunch of practical tests for that and helping you prepare you, as well as the practical flights as well, and applying that knowledge to different scenarios, you'll have to schedule that test at an FAA testing center to go and get your certificate, as the FAA is the only one who can give those licenses. It's kind of like a department, exactly, yeah, like a driver's training at the DMV. You have to go through the Department of Transportation, which, believe it or not, the Federal Aviation Administration is part of, as a sub administration, to get your license in order to operate that vehicle.
Awesome.
Any more
I was
pieces of
just
advice out there?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Don was talking a little bit about workflow. JT talked earlier about organization, and I just wanted to tie it up and say it's incredibly important to stay ahead of your assignments. So putting together a plan of action for when you're going to be doing your discussion boards, especially that first one that's due on Wednesday, and everything else that's due each week is going to be important. These classes are only 5 weeks in length, and you're unpacking a lot of information. So stay ahead of it. Make sure you're having a lot of fun. But organizing and making sure that you're holding yourself accountable is what's going to allow you to have success in the program along the way as well.
Any add-ons?
Just one more thing. See Jason's comment on violation of FAA regulations. In UAS 101, we cover and have and talk about getting the trust before you do any flight assignments. So should be covered there and good to go as you go through the rest of the program. And then for Caleb, is there anywhere we can rewatch this broadcast?
I will
Christian, I
be
think that's a question for you.
I will be editing this and then putting it on our YouTube, but we can send out the link once everything's done. So it should take me a couple days. Other than that, anybody else? Mine is just one thing we didn't really touch base on was going to be our career services department. Just make sure you're utilizing them. If you do want to get your foot in the door in the industry, they'll, help post different opportunities that are out there, but they'll even go further than that with, helping with your resume writing, cover letters, all that kind of stuff. These gentlemen and the other faculty and staff will also be helping you put your portfolio together. All your assignments, everything you do, keep somewhere, just, show the stuff off that you've done throughout your schoolwork to help you add that experience to your education when looking for jobs. So other than that, anything else? James, Melissa?
I was just going to say real quick, it's no better fun than to have fun with friends. And so if you know anybody who wants to take classes with you, who might be interested in uncrewed technology or even firearms technology, have them reach out to us in admissions. We definitely have time to get them enrolled in a program in the near future, and it'll allow you to have some fun with some friends along the way.
Thanks everyone for who could attend this evening, and appreciate all the questions. Really good questions, really good discussions going on in the chat. So thank you so much.
All right. Well, that does it for this webinar. Hopefully everybody is prepared for January. It's coming sooner than later. You've got some holidays coming up, and then boom, orientation, and then classes start. So just make sure administratively you're getting everything in. If you have any further questions, contact your admissions rep, contact your student services. Once you're a student, contact your instructor. But from all of us here at SDI, good luck to you in school and happy holidays.